You know that whole test in school where it says follow the instructions and you get all the way to the end and it says just read this and put your name on the end of it? Let's talk about that.
Well, I might know the test you're talking about.
I'll talk about it. Ernie Ball Strings, not a sponsor. They're guitar strings. Anyway, there's a test that my teacher always did almost every year, or one of the teachers at least, and I always fell for it every time. It was different questions, obviously, or I would have got the pattern. But it was like, the first instruction is read all instructions and then start. But guess what we did? We never read all the instructions. We just started with number 1. And then we did these crazy things like write your name backwards, stand up and yell, I'm happy, go over to the teacher and introduce yourself, say out loud, I finished. And then you get to the last instruction. It says, put your name on this paper, don't do anything else, and hand it in. So the first instruction was, read the whole thing and start it. And then the last instruction says, to put your name on the paper and hand it in and do nothing else. So we have all these crazy people standing up, yelling, shouting, putting stuff in certain places, and the teacher's just sitting back, and there's always that one student that was perfect in everything that he or she did.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the ones who turned it in real quick, and everybody else, they just sat back and looked at them like they're nuts. They didn't read the instructions. And so the teacher was like, well, why can't you be like that person? I'm like, oh, great, thanks. Teacher pet. Anyway, you see I have some trauma with that.
I say, yeah, it sounds like it.
But if we actually just followed the instructions, things would have been better. We wouldn't act ridiculous. We wouldn't act like a fool. We wouldn't act like, somebody doing 10 different things all at once. And same with the Bible. When we read Proverbs chapter 4, verse 13, it says, hold on to instruction, do not let it go. Guard it well, for it is your life. Now, obviously, the teacher's not going to grade that test. It was just testing you on how well you can follow instructions. And then from that point on, she or he knew, that teacher knew who was going to be the class pet and who wasn't. So, same with the Bible. God is our parent, our teacher, our father, and he's saying, look, I have the instructions written down how to live through this human life. And if you ignore them, you're going to look ridiculous. You're going to look like a fool. You're going to look like you don't know anything. Your wisdom is going to be foolish. But if you just hold on to the instructions that I have, your life, now, obviously, life has bumps and bruises because there's still sin in the world and there's still suffering. But your life is going to generally be in God's will, and God's instruction is going to help you through life. It's going to prolong your life, not only on this side of the grave, but on the other side of the grave. And so life, remember, doesn't just stop at death. Life is eternal. Once you're conceived in the mother's womb, you have a spirit, you have a soul that is going to be either in heaven or hell. And so, he says again, hold on to instruction, hold on to the Bible, hold on to the wisdom that God has given us. And it's interesting, we always say, well, I got hurt. I wonder why. Because we didn't listen to God's instruction. We need to listen to what God says. I'm not perfect at that, by no means. But I am maturing enough where it says, oh, I do have a choice. Either God's choice or my choice. And my choice usually ends up hurting me, hurting others, hurting the community. And it's not good. And so I've learned many times it's God's instruction that prolongs my life. So my encouragement for you today is, what instructions are you actually following in God's word? Are you reading it? Make sure you read it all first before you get to the end and say, oh, God's coming back. We're going to be judged on what we did without instruction. All right. I love you. Jesus loves you. You have a great weekend. Happy Friday. I'll see you Sunday morning at 11 o'clock or Facebook Live, either one. But I would love to see you there. We're trying to get 100 people by the end of December, so you can be one of those 100 people. All right, love you, bye.